Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing Expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet.
You're beautiful, you're gifted, you're loved. Every step you take raises your vibration. Every breath you take heals your body. Welcome back, everybody. It is season 5, episode 1. I can't believe we're in season 5. Thanks for tuning in to the show. I took a little break. I think the last time we spoke, I was going up to spread my brother's ashes. We're going to talk about that another time, but that just took me a minute to process. And I just wanted to say I am grateful for you, and I appreciate the opportunity to have you hear our message. And I have a very special, super gifted, talented young lady here today named Summer. Say hello, Summer.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
I'm doing great today.
Good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored to be here.
Thank you. So tell me about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
My name is Summer Paradiso. I am first and foremost a mother of 2 beautiful toddlers. I am a wife, and I like to help women reconnect with their intuition and their bodies through movement, meditation, and creative expression.
Nice. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. One of the best things I've had the opportunity to experience is meeting all these super powerful women, Rocky and Beth, and we've got a lot of friends in common.
Yeah.
But I love Rocky because her birthday's on the Marine Corps birthday. So
Yeah, that's special.
Yeah, we have a little extra connection there. So what does that mean? How do you, well, actually, let's take 2 steps back. Have you always been gifted? I mean, what does that look like for you?
Well, what's really interesting is this week is the 1-year anniversary of me learning that I could connect with past loved ones or people in spirit. I have always, so that is a little bit fresher, a little bit new, but I've always been kind of, I guess you'd say, into the woo. I've always been enamored with crystals and earth and our connection to everything. And I've always been that friend who's a little bit like, where's Summer? Oh, she's frolicking in the woods somewhere. But it isn't until recently that I've fully been able to incorporate all of these different facets and interests that I have into one beautiful piece that can serve people. I think I had been searching for a while, looking on the yoga path, looking at meditation, looking at artistic expression. And I had taught all of those in different areas, but I was never able to bring them all together. And it's just been this past year that I have found this really beautiful kind of melody of using all of them together. And it's been really cool.
That's exciting. Good for you. It's funny how God will put things in front of you and then systematically place them all into synchronicity so they work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've also found that if I ignore his whisper, it gets painful.
It gets quite loud and repetitive.
It gets painful for me, man. I'm hard-headed. So
I'm same though. And it's if the pebble, then a rock, then a boulder, always.
Yeah. So now, I always like to ask this question. Do you see dead people?
I don't see them like walking around like Sixth Sense status, but when I take a moment to tune in, I will see pictures in my third eye and they'll show me different images, kind of like a movie. And in that way, I see them. But no, I'm not just like walking on the street and then seeing orbs and dead people in that regard. No.
Yeah. That one's fun, I can promise.
Yeah.
There was a little video on Facebook yesterday, and I sent it to some friends, and it was a husband and wife, and they were talking to this priest and the nun had these gifts, and she could see this demon standing behind them. And I sent it to my friends. I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a day in the life of Wes right there. You can see that stuff. Yeah. It can be interesting, but it is what it is.
Do you see them walking around and...
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of times it's a flash. Like if somebody has something inside them, maybe they'll turn away, but the demon that is there will show itself.
Okay.
And it's interesting. A lot of people that do paranormal podcasts are reaching out, and I'm on their show. And somebody let me know the other day they don't believe in demons. And I'm like, all right. I mean, you do a paranormal podcast and you talk about all this stuff, but it's interesting. Everybody has their own thoughts. So I call them demons, and not everything I see is like that, but Yeah, it can be kind of painful sometimes too. So, especially if I make eye contact, they will psychically attack me in my third eye. It'll be fairly painful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of them. Somebody asked me the other day, he said, do you go out and seek out these entities? And I'm like, dude, I don't need to go to the bad section of the town to get my ass kicked to know it's the bad section of town.
You're like, they come to me. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm good. So I stay in my lane. I do my job. And if they step in front, we do something different and go from there. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't always see that type of stuff. I see, I'll see dead people. I'll see children and stuff like that. And that can be hard to see sometimes.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's just been really cool being able to connect with more mediums and people who can connect with the spirit realm and just seeing how incredibly different it is for each person and how that uniqueness is really, like, it really creates this robust experience for everyone with how we share it with the world. And I just think that's really cool, really different.
It is cool. And I only found out about this stuff like 5-6 years ago. My spiritual awakening turned on kind of overnight. And when I thought about it, I was like, well, if somebody's psychic, it's all going to be the same. So you're going to see the same, feel the same, but it's not. It's as unique as your fingerprint. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something I've learned too and over some time. So it's very interesting.
So I find that interesting. You said you see it in your third eye. What does that feel like? I don't understand what you mean by that.
Well, I close my eyes and typically things just start to play out like a movie and I see it. It's as if I'm looking up and into the space between my eyebrows and my forehead and I see the pictures, I see the colors, sometimes it's from the perspective of the spirit or the person who's speaking to me. And so like I'll see their hands doing something or I'll see their feet or I'll see the people in front of them to provide evidence of who it is. And it's very much like a little sitcom or a little movie that plays in front of me. And I start talking about the things that I'm seeing to my sitters so that they can validate what's coming through and know who's trying to communicate with them.
Nice. So how long have you been doing it professionally?
November of last year. Yeah. So I literally, in a few days, will be the 1-year anniversary that it was overnight for me too. It was like a light switch. And I was like, okay, I'm not a stranger to this concept. I'm open. And I think my openness to just receive messages and my openness to just kind of roll with the punches has allowed me to move into this quite quickly. And so that was May of last year. And then it was November that I came out to social media as a medium. And I was really nervous about that. And I'm not sure why, because once I was out, everyone was like, oh yeah, that tracks. Like it wasn't really a surprise to anyone.
That didn't track for me.
No.
I can promise.
Yeah.
So I know when mine turned on, I don't know if you know my story, but I went through this haunted house and at the end, all these gifts were here. I'm like, okay, what's this? If you go back 6 years ago, I can promise you we would not be having this conversation.
Yeah.
And it took me a minute before I went on social media. Okay, we're back. We had a little technical difficulty. Wes forgot to plug the system in. The batteries went dead. So there's that. So yeah, everything kind of turned on. And I don't know, one day I just started putting stuff on social media. I still run a real estate company. So for me, the transition was so easy. It was bizarre. People started reaching out and said, hey, I've known you for 25 years. And if you say it's real, it's real. And that really surprised me. I wasn't expecting that. So good for you for having the courage to step forward, to step into that place and then go public, because it could be a little isolating sometimes, right?
Yeah. In the beginning, when I first started communicating with spirit, it was very isolating because I wasn't sure who I could talk to about it. I've watched the medium shows like Tyler Henry and Teresa Caputo, and it's always been fun to talk about, but to actually be like, hey, I'm talking to my brother-in-law in spirit and I need to talk to someone about it. I was a little lonely with it, and it felt hard to find an anchor in not being able to communicate because I'm a verbal processor. I like to communicate with others about what's going on almost as like a validation of my experience. And so I immediately started going online, looking for Facebook groups, looking for opportunities to practice. And I found a couple groups where they met on Monday nights and had a practice group. I mean, this is like people from England, Croatia, Australia, like all in the same Zoom call. And
Nice.
it was a really great opportunity for me to learn how I receive messages and to practice with people that I definitely didn't know anything about. And to also be validated that there's 20 other people on this call who are somewhere in the world who are doing the same thing. And that was really validating and really cool. And once I started putting myself out there, some people surprised me. They started coming forth and they're like, hey, like, I know you've been kind of woo-woo, but I trust you and I want to know what this is about. And so it's been really cool, especially to hear from some people who are like, hey, I can do this too, but I've never told a soul. And they've been doing it like their whole life. And that has been the coolest part. I'm like, there's way more people walking the streets who are communicating with spirit than I think the average person realizes.
Oh, absolutely. God is calling us to the table big time. All our children are coming through Spiritually Awakened. And it's funny, sometimes I'll see typically probably 6 months or less, an infant, and I can see their third eye open. It's like almost like a flashlight, and the look on their face are seeing and feeling everything. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It's really cool to see with my kids their connection. And I think that might be my favorite part is being able to see what they're seeing and to understand and to not be scared of it.
How does your husband deal with that?
Well, first of all, we've known each other since 8th grade, so we know each other really well. And he just loves me for me, and he listens. He is curious, and he also is the analytical numbers of the relationship. Thank God, we need one of them.
Yeah.
And so he listens, and sometimes he's like, I don't know, man, that's like a little outside of my like empirical evidence brain, but he's open. He's open to it.
What line of work is he in?
He is in healthcare consulting.
Oh, yeah. They're ultra spiritual there.
Yeah. So they're doing good stuff over there. They're doing a lot of preventative care and whatnot, but not a lot of woo and crystals going on.
Well,
so
I mean, he's in corporate America. You know, you can't really be any more corporate, I don't think. So,
no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But he's good at it. But he's we can't out him too much. But he's more open than he leads on because he at least listens to me and is curious.
Yeah. I always find it curious how somebody's significant other looks at things, especially if they don't have the connection. And not everybody does, and that's okay. I don't think everybody's supposed to. And like you said, you've got the yin and the yang. You've got that grounding aspect because in this work, it could be you can get out there a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I know early on through my process with the haunted house, I ended up meeting a woman named Sandra Grace Brooks, and she was my first friend, my first healer, and she was my friend. She died 2 years ago, I think yesterday.
Oh.
And I remember asking her, how do you find people that do this work? And she's like, oh, we don't talk about it. And that's that old school version is you don't talk about it. And I remember it's like, I cuss a little bit and I'm like, fuck that, dude. Because I was running for my life. And I don't know if you guys can hear that on the show, but it's United States Navy flying over. But I'm just like, I made the commitment that I was going to tell everybody that this was real. Because somebody needs to hear the message. Somebody needs to hear that there's an opportunity. Somebody needs to hear there's a lifeline if you're in trouble. And the reality is you're not crazy. Now, there's a difference between being nuts and crazy. So, and I felt like I was losing my mind. I didn't have gifts. I didn't have any of that stuff. And all of a sudden, I was seeing things. I was feeling things. I could touch a bowl that held fruit, and I could taste the fruit. And I'm just like, okay, what's this? And my family was panicked. It was hard. So, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that have suffered. I believe my mom had lots of gifts, and I think that's one of the reasons she really struggled in life.
Yeah, it's really interesting you bring that up. I've connected. I realize that I have a pretty strong connection to one of my grandmothers who I didn't ever meet in physical plane, and I talk to her a lot now. And there's this realization that she had gifts too. Growing up in the 50s and having 7 children is not really an opportunity to explore those gifts or be able to have an out. And so her call to me has been like continue to do this, like spread it, like this is here, it's in the lineage. And that's been really interesting to explore and communicating with her. And it's really cool to be able to have a relationship with someone that I never thought I would get to meet. So that's also really special.
Yeah, I got to meet my Uncle Robert, died in Vietnam. Actually, his anniversary was last week of his death, but he died, I think, 18 months to the day before I was born. And I feel to the second. For some reason, there's that deep connection with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I have met him a couple times in spirit. And it's interesting. It's like, hey, as he stepped forward, I knew exactly who it was.
Yeah.
I could see, I just knew it. And it was interesting how that works. And I've seen instances where I've had a client on the table and her deceased husband came in, her grandparents came in, she had had a miscarriage. We're helping take the baby home.
Mm-hmm.
And that day was so uniquely connected. I mean, I don't know who told me where it comes from because I don't study mediumship really. I could do it sometimes. I don't know how to turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
Either it comes or it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew what color truck her grandfather drove. I mean, they showed me the picture of her house, her grandmother. I mean, in extraordinary detail. They even gave me the name of the person she was on the phone with before she got to my office. And I'd never met her before.
They had a message then. And they wanted you to know it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. Her deceased husband was a Navy SEAL. And so it was beautiful. And I felt so bad. She cried so hard through that whole session. I mean, there were so many things happening with the baby. The husband just passed away, the grandparents and everything. And I was so grateful that I was able to see that, hear that, and deliver that message for a healing for her.
Yeah.
And it can be overwhelming sometimes. Then that human brain kicks in, at least it does for me. I'm like, am I making it up or is that real?
Yeah. That was definitely a big thing for me in the beginning. I'm Taurus sun and moon, so I'm a very grounded person. And I have to turn it on. It doesn't come to me just kind of like driving or anything. I need to sit and I need to kind of turn that dial up in my brain to be able to connect to spirit.
Mm-hmm.
No, I forgot what I was talking about. With the messages coming through though, like how healing isn't always pretty. But I find like when I do readings for people, you're talking about like all those past loved ones came through for that woman and she had a big release and you felt bad because she was crying. But it's one of those where, especially for me in my readings, I promise you that you will receive a message that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not one that you want.
Sure.
And so with that might come some discomfort. There might be some resistance. A lot of my people in my readings are like, this is like 10 years of therapy, like balled up into one. And I'm like, I go straight for your deepest shit because that's what comes up and that's what comes through. And you might feel really tired and depleted at the end of it, but it's because you have just released something big.
Absolutely.
And that's why that brings me joy to know that I'm helping people release this stuff that they're carrying around.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talk about on the show all the time. I believe you can heal in a second if you know how to do it. There's a cheat code. And I believe that starts with understanding that life happens for you and not to you. And just these different thought processes and understanding how energy works and that everything's a direct reflection of yourself. And one of the biggest things, Trinae helped me understand all this at the Reiki Wellness Center. She's a very good friend of mine. I think one of the biggest turning points for me on that was when I came to the realization I could rewrite my story.
Yeah.
Because I believed I was X. Well, I wasn't X. That X was a sentence or a paragraph in the back of the book of Wes. And the reality is I can be anything that I want. And things have changed so much for me. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a fun thing is everything's energy, right?
Yeah.
And so I was trying to buy my dad's building from him recently. And in the human world, in the 3D world, I don't think I necessarily qualified. I'm in real estate. So on the years that I'm going to buy something, I show more income, then you show less income. You can write off different things. So long story short, that door kept closing, but it wasn't until I sat down and I forgave my dad over some stuff. And when I let that go, And I sent him this really long text and thanked him for everything he's done for the entire family his whole life. All of a sudden, I qualified for the building. Isn't that weird? From the same bank that turned me down 6 months prior.
Mm-hmm.
How's that even possible when they're technically just looking at numbers on a piece of paper?
Yeah, I feel like something along those lines with energy happens just daily, and I am always surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. I'm like, this is what I'm interacting with daily is synchronicities and energy. And the second you release one thing, another door opens, and it's just, I don't know, I'm just in awe and wonder of how much we can literally create what's in front of us. But I'm still surprised every time.
All right. Well, I've gotten to the point now, if I want to talk to somebody, I just think about them for a second, and I know within 24 hours they're going to call.
Yeah.
And that just happens. And the weird thing is I can do the same thing. And I don't know how Facebook stalks our brain, but it feels like Facebook stalks our brain. Isn't that weird?
There's some sort of psychic thing happening there. Yeah. And Instagram, all of them, the algorithm knows. It's, wild.
Yeah, that's creepy. So I don't know how that would work.
I will say, though, I love the Instagram algorithm and the Facebook algorithm for sales and shopping, which some people are like, why are they listening to me? And I'm like, you know what? Target me. I want those yoga pants. I want I want the things. So I'm good with it.
Well, they keep showing me $300,000 sports cars. So I'm like, it must be divine intervention saying, Wes, you need a new sports car, right?
Well, and now I'm going to start getting ads for $300,000 sports cars on my phone because it's right there. So yeah.
Well, they say money doesn't buy happiness, but damn, in my Maserati, I sure am a little bit happier when I'm crying.
That's funny.
But so let me ask you this. If somebody's listening to the show and they've got these gifts, what would you recommend to them, especially if they're struggling?
Oh, God, DM me, please. I want to connect with you. But if you are struggling, especially for those of you who might have someone really important in your life who you feel like is going to react in an unfavorable way or reject you or not want to be close to you anymore, then I would just say, listen to what Spirit's telling you, connect with your guides, let it happen, and it will unfold for you. Anytime I've tried to force something, it doesn't always go great. Patience is one of my big karmic lessons this lifetime. But I think just continuing to keep that link between you and Spirit, continuing to communicate, people are going to come to you. Once you kind of open up that energy, people are going to start coming to you, and it might be little trickles. It might be one person 1 week and then another person another month, but you're going to start having opportunities to do readings if you want to. I've met a number of people who have kind of secretly told me, like, I can do it, but I don't want to do what you're doing. And I'm like, that's okay. It might be just for you to be receiving information to share it in a different way. Like everyone's story looks different. So I mean, that was kind of a long way of answering as I have a tendency to do. But if they're craving connection to someone, then my first answer is DM me, because I have loads. Maybe I'm not your person to talk to, but I know a lot of other mediums now, because I've been reaching out all the hands and all the places to meet people.
So what's your Instagram?
It is my name. It is easy. It is Summer, SUMMER _Paradiso, PARADISO _ And it's just my little face there. And I share stuff about my program that I have, which is the movement meditation and creative expression. I share about my readings. There's lots of different ways you can work with me.
Nice. So I think it also says that you do, because I left my notes in the other room because that's what Wes does, is you mentor people and stuff, right? Yeah.
So I have a group program actually going on right now. It's my 8-week transformation. So it's a very compact little container where we go deep, hard and fast. And so that's my group container, but I do work one-on-one with people. I'd say like entry level, if you're like, is this chick even for me? Like, do I want to work with her? Do I like the way that she channels? Then you would just book a one-on-one reading with me. And if you want more, if you're really craving, like, I can connect with Spirit, or I want to connect with Spirit, or you just want to connect with your intuition because you're disconnected and you like don't even know what you're doing, you can work with me one-on-one. And that is not overly official. You just DM me and I send you the sales page and you decide if you want to work with me. It's so hard to describe because I do so many different things. Like we might do some Reiki, we might do some creative expression, we might do a little bit of ancestral healing. I worked with one of my one-on-one clients last week. We actually cleared her house because there was a lot of negative energy still there from a past relationship. So it really is so specific to what you need.
Nice.
And that just takes me getting to know you.
So in the 8-week program, are you teaching people how to do mediumship, or what are you doing?
No, so that one's more focused on energy unblocking and emotional unblocking. So as you're probably no stranger, we create physical manifestations of emotional wounds. I think if anyone listening probably understands that. And so the big focus is emotional unblocking. And we work through kind of a chakra theme each week. I am teacher by trade, so I have my little, my slideshows and stuff. But we have a movement flow, we have a meditation, and then creative expression prompts for each week. And then I have a whole portal of different videos that people can kind of plug and play whenever they feel good. And it's anything from a 3-minute like seated grounding meditation to like a 60-minute like super deep dive into visiting your divine feminine. So it really is kind of a variety.
Nice.
And we meet once a week and kind of debrief and talk about what's going on. And I really, people have individual access to me. I love a voice memo. Anyone send me a voice memo on Instagram, you're my best friend. But the group context is what's really cool, is because all these women come from different parts of life. Some are moms, some are not moms, some are entrepreneurs, some are in corporate world. And yet we're all crisscrossing with the same emotional blocks and same different types of wounds. And so it's really beautiful when the experience is shared. Yeah, so that's what we're doing right now. We're in week 2 of my program.
Yay, nice. Yeah. I think it's important to share. I share quite openly about my past and stuff, and it helps me heal. However, I know there's somebody listening that can't say those words, and it helps them see I'm not alone.
Yeah.
That happened to him. Wow, that happened to me. I'm not the only person here. I'm not this oddball out.
Yeah.
So it's a healing journey is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I think it's, as you're saying that too, I think it's really beautiful because there's some people who you don't have to share your whole healing journey online if that's not for you. Maybe you're working one-on-one with someone or something, but it's if you're cool with sharing, then please do, because, and like I'm like that too. Like I want to share because if it's one person who sees it and is like, oh my God, that's me, and then they can take a leap of faith into something that they maybe wouldn't have otherwise had they not seen that one person do it. I just think it's so valuable to be able to like shout from the mountaintops. If you're comfortable, shout from the mountaintops.
Exactly. Yeah, I worked on a friend of mine last week, and she said, I feel like you sprinkled pixie dust or something on my face. She's just like been glowing and removing those blocks and stuff. I'm like, good for you. Good for you.
I'm here for the glitter and pixie dust. That sounds great.
Yeah, right? So we got, before I forget, I got you a couple gifts.
Oh.
So I've got 2 copies of, one is What Color's Your Dragon, and the other is Sydney's New Bike. That's the book that Andrea and I wrote.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought maybe your children might want to listen or read that. And the book is about learning how to love themselves and affirmations and connecting with people that don't look like you. And I think they're beautiful.
These are so sweet. Thank you.
You're
oh my
welcome.
gosh. And that'll really mix up our evening Bluey book marathon.
Yeah.
No, thank you. These are so sweet. And as an artist, these illustrations are adorable.
Thanks. Yeah. We talk about grounding and stuff in there. And there's also a summary in the back for parents really that don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
And then there's little affirmation cards in there. It's fun. Andrea had asked me to write those books for a very long time. And I mean, the honest answer is, she said, Wes, I want you to do this book on dragons because I work with dragons. And I didn't want to. Then I was kind of dating somebody at the time. And I'm like, that energy is just it's not going to flow right. And I didn't feel a connection. So that person and I stopped seeing each other. And she asked me again. She sent me an email and I'm like, okay. And it's strange, like within days of me saying, okay, Jesus showed me the books. I drew the pictures out of every page, and Andrea is so brilliant. She came in and she put all just basically put everything together. She made it happen. So, but yeah, Jesus put those books together. It's really cool. And the dragon in my mind it's a higher power. It represents Jesus, right? So you're looking up to your higher power.
Yeah, I think it's so important that things like this are being created so that kids can grow up thinking, not thinking, but knowing that these gifts are real and important and valued, because a lot of people that I talk to now who saw spirits when they were younger and then no longer did, and then had to like kind of reclaim that ability.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because they were told it wasn't real or they were not validated at a young age. And actually, really, just a short story to share. When I was teaching middle school art, and this was before I had a meditation practice and yoga practice, but I didn't know that I could communicate with spirit yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this student. He was so precious. This is sixth grade. And he always would kind of like linger after class, and then kind of like wander off. And he didn't have a lot of friends. He was just kind of a loner. And there was one day he came up to my desk and he was like, "Miss P, I can talk to people who have died. Like I see them and they talk to me, and they told me to tell you." And
Wow.
this was like 2018. This was a long time. Well, not that long, but long enough ago before I knew.
Yeah.
And I just remember saying, "Thank you for telling me. And if you ever need to talk to anybody, I'm here for you." And he was like, "No one believes me." And I said, "I believe you." And I am proud in that moment that I validated him, but I'm also proud of him for coming to tell me, because that was just one of those little breadcrumbs in my path that has led to this point. And it's just moments like that are so special and valuable, and just think is really cool. So
Absolutely. That breaks my heart for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe he'll hear this podcast, or maybe he'll have someone that helps validate him, because
Sure.
I think school is already hard enough. And for those who are already really spiritually open, I think it is just that much harder to deal with. Yeah.
Well, especially nowadays, I mean, you can identify as a turnip, not trying to be rude, but you can, and that's supposed to be accepted. And the reality is, when I know what it was like when I grew up, and it was hard enough when there was one sex, or you're either a man or a woman, and you wanted to fit in. Now you've got all these other parameters people have put in place, and I couldn't imagine how confusing it is for our children. And it's just a struggle. Then you add in the spiritual gifts that these children are being born with and coming in. And that's why we created this, because you go to your mom or to the teacher and say, "Hey, I talk to dead people." You're going to go to a psychiatrist. They're going to medicate you, and you're going down that rabbit hole. And maybe that may be a real thing for that person, but the reality is maybe it's not. Maybe that person is seeing and hearing in other dimensions. And that's why I tell the story. That's why we wrote the books. We wanted to save our children. And I believe families that heal together stay together.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
They do. And our babies need us. And if you're not open, this gives you the opportunity to talk to your child a little bit. And welcome to the hippie world, I call it. It's like, Lakota. Do you know Lakota? The medicine woman, Lakota?
No, you sent me her info and I'm stalking. So yeah.
Yeah, she's coming in town this weekend. And seen her this last weekend and did some work up on her property. But listening to her connect is unreal. I mean, the things that she can see, the things that she can do. And she does healing work in her sleep, and she remembers it the next day. I'm like, how do you do all that and be rested?
Oh, like astral travel status?
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool.
Girl,
how does she not need caffeine? Because I feel like it's exhausting to do astral travel and then be a mom the next day.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do.
I have no idea. But she's the one that saved me in that haunted house. She's the one I had to go through this rebirthing ceremony. So I had 2 exorcisms. And then the third one was with her, was this Native American rebirthing ceremony where I had to dig a grave, lay in my grave for 18 hours.
What?
Yeah, it was a lot.
This is So this is like a different kind of, when you're talking about like seeing demons and kind of these negative energies and stuff that it seems like you were interacting with a lot. It's so interesting to listen to because I don't have any experience with that. I don't feel like I've had any experience with, and this is a common question too, so I want to touch on it, where people are like, do you have any past loved ones who say something really mean to the living person that you're talking to, or do you have any demons come through or being possessed? And I'm new in my communicating with spirit journeys, so I definitely have my tools and my practices to make sure that I'm protecting myself. But I still have not, I have not had any experiences that are anything other than love and light. And I do just want to say that if anyone's ever interested in a reading with me, I don't seem to be magnetic for these darker energies.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it fascinating, the experience of other people. And
Yeah.
And laying in a grave for 18 hours sounds really traumatic. I'm not going to lie, Wes. That sounds like, yeah.
The funny thing through that whole episode, that 9 months, that was like the most relaxing part for me. I mean, there was instances, my buddy Ty went through the process with me, and I had forgotten this. And at one time I lifted my shirt and you could see a face from the inside of my skin pressing out of my body. And
What?
yeah, that was nerve-wracking as fucking shit.
Okay, I was supposed to be like, what the fuck? Can we say that? Oh my God.
Yeah, it was an extraordinary process, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, do not recommend. 0 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah, and so just because I went through it doesn't, and like you said, it doesn't mean when I do healing work that stuff shows up. It's just was my process because I had to go through that process because I didn't believe God was real. I didn't believe Jesus was real. I thought the Bible was a good book that these fucking idiots purchased, and it was a gimmick. I thought it was a gimmick. I didn't know Jesus was a Jew. I didn't know he was crucified by the Romans. I knew nothing because I was molested as a child. And in my mind, if he was real, why would that happen?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Father Munford helped me understand by going through almost like a little baby meditation. He made me go back to right before I was raped, right? And he said, now stop. And I want you to look around the room and look for Jesus. And I remember being so furious with that. And the short version of that was I looked over and I seen him crying. And he said, I told him, I said, Father, I see him. And he said, what did he say, son? I said, you didn't have to say anything because he's crying. And that's when I came to the realization, Jesus isn't here to pull me out of that room. As a parent, we can't walk with our babies everywhere through everything and save them, but we can love them through everything. And Jesus loves us through the process. And he could, I guess maybe he could, but that's not his job. His job wasn't to pull me out of that room. His job was to love me. And he did, even when I didn't love myself, and even when I didn't even recognize that he was here, that he was real. So going through that process, I simply put, I needed to get my ass fucking wore out to come to the realization, because I could see the demons, and I believed that because I mean, you could clearly see them. I had hundreds of pictures of it. I'd take a picture with my camera or the security cameras in the house, you could see them. So I'm like, if that's real, then, I mean, is God real? You got it. In my logical mind, you couldn't have one without the other. So I had to go through this process to pay attention, because if he did it lightly, I wouldn't be doing this healing work right now.
Yeah.
So I think that when those messages come through, really the person that was here is not the one that you're talking to. It's their higher self. Is that higher self. And that higher self, I talk about a lot, that if you and I were in a relationship and it was a really bad breakup and one of the two of us hurt the other person, that in 3D form here, there's this anger or whatever, but in heaven, we loved each other so much that I came, or you came here to give those lessons of betrayal to me for me to heal from that, right? So I like to think that our higher selves, especially when you've been hurt by somebody, that higher self of that person loved you so much that they destroyed you so you can go through the experience that you guys agreed upon in heaven. And now it's your turn to heal and elevate.
Yeah. On that note too, I've had a number of sitters that I've read for who during the reading have been frustrated because the person who's coming through is the higher self, is after the life review, is not how they showed up in 3D plane. They might have been abusive, alcoholic, kind of super destructive in 3D. And so my sitter's expecting that to show up again with an I'm sorry. And what happens is the elevated version of themselves, the higher version of themselves is coming through to finally show the love, like how much I love you, how much I acknowledge you, and I want to acknowledge this experience that happened between us, this contract that happened between us to help make you the person that you are today. And it's a really hard thing to explain to someone that you're reading for, because it can be quite upsetting to be talking to the higher version and be like, well, why didn't I get the higher version of you when you were here?
Sure.
And
it was their contract.
Yeah, it was their contract. And it is hard. It's hard to explain. And I'm still learning. Every day I learn something. Every reading I learn something. And it is just one of those things that, like, from what I understand from the readings that I've done, from people I've talked to, it is part of the soul contract. It's what your soul needs to learn in this lifetime. And it never is easy, is it?
No.
Yeah. So.
Trinae said something to me a while back, and she said, we're not here to suffer. We're here to struggle. Just like the butterfly. When the butterfly is born, if I were to cut the cocoon open and help the butterfly, it's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
If the butterfly struggles, it pushes blood to its wings, it gives it strength, and it grows and prospers. Struggling is growth. In healing, suffering is 3D human form. And I adopted the suffering mindset for a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't suffer anymore. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Nobody teaches this stuff. That's why I tell it to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just, it changes things at such a deep level quickly. I'm like, why is this not on 60 Minutes? Why is this not taught in school? I guess the same reason they didn't teach me how to balance a checkbook when I was in.
Yeah. Well, we don't even need to get started on that one, but I think it's like there's such a push and pull, and probably better if we don't get into education system, because I'm no longer teaching in the public school system. But for whoever's listening, developing these tools for yourself and sharing them with our youth is imperative for raising our collective vibration and elevating consciousness, because otherwise we do get stuck in that suffering loop because we don't fucking know any better. Like,
yeah,
that's the norm. And so I'm really grateful for people like you who are creating books and sharing these tools so that we can slowly but surely normalize them.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're starting a podcast soon, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I do not have a specific date, but yes, I am starting a podcast. It will be called the Soul and Spirit Podcast.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I love that for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. So you're an artist as well, right?
I am.
Multi-talented.
Yeah, I am an artist. That has been my form of expression since I could hold a crayon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. My superpower is I talk shit. So
you talk. Yeah. That's your superpower.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am an artist, and that was kind of the third puzzle piece. I like to think of, well, any of my 90s kids, Legends of the Hidden Temple. Did you ever watch that?
No.
It was a Nickelodeon show. I always think about this was like the monkey had like the last piece of the puzzle to like win the prize. Because I developed a meditation practice after going on a silent meditation retreat in Thailand that my friend dragged me to. Side note, never having meditated before, and then going to sit with a bunch of monks for 10 days in silence. That was wild. But hey, I learned how to meditate very quickly, and then getting certified as a yoga teacher. And so understanding this movement and meditation portion and being an artist alongside it. But I started teaching in the public school system. I kind of lost my creative spark, and I wasn't really creating very much. And through a very interesting journey, I came back to being able to create, and I realized that was the missing puzzle piece. That is the part that brings it all together, because you can You can move your body, break up that pent energy. You can meditate and visualize where it's coming from and try and release it. But there's no release unless you're expressing it, right? And so if you don't identify as like a painter or something, then, you don't have to paint, but it's just scribbling on a piece of paper and then throwing it away is artistic expression. I don't know how much time we have, but like, I don't want to even get started on societal norms of like, oh, I'm not good at art, or I can only draw a stick figure. I can only do this. Like, I am one of those teachers in that it's like, everyone is an artist. If you're saying I can't draw, what you mean is I can't render something realistically, or like I struggle with rendering something realistically. We have this perception that being able to draw means you can draw something as exactly as it looks in real life, but that's not the case. Everyone can find a way to hold a utensil and make a mark on a paper. That is art. That is the creative expression. And so I'm very passionate about that.
Nice. I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell. Well, that's cool. So we're about running out of time, and I've enjoyed this. This has been really cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This has been, I want to nerd out about all the spiritual stuff any day. So we'll definitely have you on the podcast when I get mine up and running.
Thank you. So go ahead and tell everybody your name and how to connect with you again so they have it.
Sure. I'm Summer Paradiso. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram, and that's at Summer, SUMMER _Paradiso, PARADISO _. And I guess you could email me too if anyone doesn't have Instagram, and that one's just it's my name again, Summer Paradiso, and then art@gmail.com. And I would love to, for anyone who's listening, if you're interested in having a reading, I'd love to offer 50% off.
Cool.
So just DM me your favorite part of this podcast, or email me your favorite part of this podcast or something you learned, and I'll send you the link to book.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And we're in, I think, 138 countries now. So,
ooh, love that. Yeah.
Yeah, just picked up Australia. I think 3 weeks ago, right before I took a little break, we picked up 30 countries in a week. I'm like, all right.
Oh, how cool.
I know, right?
Okay. Well, hi, everyone.
Yeah, hi. And one of the fun things is the new listeners didn't understand that if they listen to the show and we come to their country, we get a crash at their house. So
obviously, yeah. And I want like real legitimate food from
yeah, we want your
food.
I want your grandmother's recipes.
Yes.
I would love that.
Yes.
So,
oh my gosh.
Well, Summer, thank you so much. It's been a blessing to have you on the show, and I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Wes.
All right. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you.
Peace.
You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.